Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you for being here. If you enjoy this story and want to hear more, please consider clicking the subscribe button and sharing this video with others. It helps me keep creating and sharing stories with you. Now, let's begin. A man rummaged through a garbage dumpster, pulling out a half-eaten hamburger. The smell of rotting food and stale grease hung in the air, but he smiled and began eating it immediately. His long brown hair was matted, and he wore an old suit with torn elbows. Yet there was a certain grace about him, as if he understood something that others didn't. Billy, a young man with kind eyes, noticed him and asked, "Are you hungry, sir?" "Yeah," the man replied. "I'm always hungry." Billy, who was once homeless but had become a prominent business owner, offered, "Would you like to go to the restaurant with me? I'll buy you dinner." "Sure," the man answered, surprise evident in his voice. He wiped his nose with his sleeve and coughed. Together, they walked to the restaurant. At the door, the maitre d' stopped him. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her tone nasal and her eyebrows raised. "He's with me," Billy stated firmly. "You'll be paid, and the waiter will receive a tip." "All right, follow me," she said reluctantly, her nose in the air. She led them to a table in the back, away from the other diners. "Your waitress will be with you shortly," she snapped, her tone icy. As they settled at the table, Billy asked, "What's your name?" The man looked at Billy thoughtfully, fumbled with his beard for a moment. He grinned, coughed, and rubbed his mouth with his sleeve before finally speaking. "I am Dr. James Dowdy." He held his chin high and puffed out his chest, meeting Billy's eyes with a proud look. "Really?" Billy replied, raising his eyebrows. "What kind of doctor are you?" "I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I performed numerous surgeries," Dr. Dowdy answered, straightening his shoulders with pride. "I'm confused," Billy said, shaking his head. "If you're a surgeon, why did I find you at a dumpster?" Before Dr. Dowdy could answer, the sulky waitress arrived. "May I take your order?" she asked, glancing at them with a frown. "Oh, yes," Billy said. "I'll have the chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, green beans, and a Coke. And you, sir?" She frowned at Dr. Dowdy. "I'll have the same," he answered without looking her way. Then, taking a deep breath, Dr. Dowdy looked at Billy and said, "Let me tell you a little story. It was 7 years ago now. The chart indicated that my patient Julia was in room 4. As I entered the room, I saw her broad smile lighting up her face. 'Dr. Dowdy?' she asked, her voice surprisingly light for someone with such a substantial frame. I nodded, my gaze dropping to the tablet. The words, 44 years old, overweight, arthritic right knee, blurred against a stark white background. Looking up, I finally saw her. Her legs, thick as tree trunks, spilled over the sides of the examination table, was a soft acceptance, accompanied by a gentle puff of air escaping her lips. The sharp image of the X-ray pulsed on my tablet screen, and I traced a jagged edge of the bone spur, a tiny, wicked shard protruding from her patella. "Do you see this?" I said, my voice low. "This little devil here? It's the source of your pain." Her eyes, wide with surprise, mirrored the stark image. Her already plump cheeks inflated as a silent gasp escaped her lips. What do we do?" I slid a diagram across my desk and, with my fingertip precise and firm, I traced the tiny, almost invisible incision points. "Arthroscopy. In and out. We can do it this Friday. Her reflection shimmered in the polished surface of the tablet, revealing a flicker of fear mixed with a stronger thread of determined hope in her gaze. Friday, she whispered, her voice echoing softly. When Friday arrived, the surgery went perfectly. The rhythmic spin of the instruments, the soft click of the tools, and the quiet intensity of the team created a ballet of precise, measured movements, showcasing my skill. Monday morning became the worst day of my life. I arrived at my office after hospital rounds at 9 a.m. and said good morning to Kathy, my office manager. She replied, "Dr. Dowdy, both of our nurses have called in sick this morning. I tried to get Dr. Johnson's nurse, but he needs her. I had to call in an agency nurse. You know I don't like having agency nurses. They don't know my procedures. Is she here? Have you shown her the office?" Kathy took a deep breath and said, "She just arrived a moment ago." "Give me a list of my patients." I told her, "I need to get busy. Oh, by the way, what's her name?" "Latasha. Tell her to come into my office." I ordered. Kathy gave me her disgusting look and waved her hand at what looked like a child in a nursing uniform, telling her to follow me. Latasha, the agency nurse, a wisp of a girl all elbows and knees stood frozen, a pale, uncertain statue. Her wide, unfocused eyes mirrored the chaotic jumble of my own thoughts. Looking at her over the top of my glasses, I asked, "Have you ever worked in a doctor's office? Do you know the routine?" "Sir, this is my first job out of nursing school," she whimpered. I was dumbfounded. "So, why did the agency send you here?" "I don't know." "Okay, Latasha." I took a deep breath to calm myself. "This is what I expect from my nurses. First, I want my patients' weight and vital signs, O2 level, medication list, and any complaint they might have. Also, ask if they need any new medications. Now, don't write a book, keep it simple." "Okay." She almost whispered, "Yes, sir." I looked down at my list of patients and saw that my first patient was Julia, to have her drain removed from her knee, and asked, "Have you ever removed a surgical drain?" My voice, sharper than I intended, sliced through the suffocating silence. Her head shook in a tiny, almost imperceptible tremor. "No, sir." My stomach lurched. "No lunch today." The metallic tang of bile burned at the back of my throat. I forced a gentler tone. "Put her in treatment room 2. I'll be there in 5 minutes. When I got to treatment room 2, I asked Julia, "Julia, how's the knee?" "Much better, but sore." Her voice was a fragile whisper, barely audible. "Well, you did have surgery." I snapped, the words harsher than I intended. "Shall we remove this drain?" The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of the day's looming catastrophe. Her shoulders barely twitched. "Yes, sir." I narrowed my eyes at Latasha. Gloves. Sponges. Now. She vanished, a white blur behind the door, a frantic flurry of motion, and a suture removal kit. I snapped, the scent of rubbing alcohol already sharp in the air as I began to swab. She reappeared, clutching the wrong kit, her face a mask of terror. This was supposed to be routine. I had to get myself. I cleaned the drain's entry point with alcohol and snipped the sutures. A dull tug, the tube wouldn't move. A sickening resistance, and I pulled harder, then a sharp rip. Warmth exploded across my face, a metallic, coppery spray of blood. Panic slammed me. A physical blow. Tourniquet. Now! My voice cracked. Latasha's squeak was a pathetic counterpoint to the scream building in my throat. Doctor, I can't find it. My left hand clamped down on the gushing wound. The pressure a desperate, frantic prayer. Time fractured. Each second a hammer blow against my skill. I spotted the blood pressure cuff, fumbling with clumsy fingers, wrapping it high above the knee, pumping until the crimson tide slowed, a makeshift dam against the torrent. The coppery tang of blood filled the small, sterile office, mingling with the sour taste of my own fear, the bitter taste of my incompetence. I should have known better. My voice, a strained whisper, cut through the silence. Latasha, here. Her face, ashen and mirroring my own rising dread, appeared in the doorway. My finger stabbed at the cabinet drawer. Tourniquet, scalpel, anesthetic, sterile gloves. I never liked agency nurses, especially the inexperienced. Inexcusable. Julia's knee pulsed, a crimson fountain against the pale gleam of the examination table. Finally, she tried to hand me the tourniquet. I bellowed, "Put it on her leg." Latasha fumbled with the tourniquet. I grabbed her hand and placed on Julia's knee and said, "Push hard." I placed the tourniquet on her leg. "Keep pushing, Latasha." I should have called 911 at that point, but I didn't. Instead, I attempted to fix the problem myself. My pride got in my way. I washed my hands and set up a sterile field and put on my sterile gloves. "Julia," I said, my voice barely a whisper, try and steady the frantic thumb in my heart. "I need to open your knee and stop the bleeding. May I open it?" Her eyes widened in terror, and her head shook ever so slightly, a silent plea etched in fear. I felt a surge of guilt twist in my gut. How? How did we get here? The local anesthetic was a feeble offering against the raw agony she was facing. Her whimper, as I cut through her skin, was a dagger to my heart. The sight of the severed artery stole the breath from my lungs, a horrifying confirmation of my worst fears. The metallic tang of blood filled my nostrils, the frantic rhythm of my own pulse echoing the thrumming of my instruments. I worked quickly, each suture a desperate prayer, each stitch a lifeline. The bleeding stopped, but Julia's skin a spreading, chilling gray. Her pulse, a frail flutter, gasps replaced breaths. "Call 911. I barked at Latasha, my voice cracking. "Stat!" CPR, the relentless, desperate rhythm of compressions, the hollow thud of her chest against my palms, the rise of her chest as I gave breaths, the arrival of the paramedics, a blur of flashing lights and urgent voices. I watched them wheel her away, the image of her graying skin seared into my memory. The rest of the day was a ghost. Empty chairs, silent phones. The cancellation patients felt almost surreal, the weight of my failure pressing down. The next morning, my regular nurses were there, their faces etched with concern. But the words, "She didn't make it," from Kathy, my office manager, landed like a physical blow. Her heart couldn't take the shock. The simple phrase echoed the hollowness within me. I sent everyone home. The house swallowed me whole. The bed, a cold, unforgiving embrace, curled in a fetal position. The tears came, a torrent of grief and self-reproach. A month, a blank, a void. My wife's threat hung in the air, go back to work or leave. Unwavering. My own mind numb a wasteland. Then one day I went to McDonald's. Latasha was working behind the counter. Why was she here? She's a nurse. Her eyes widened in terror as she saw me, like golf balls with brown pupils. A confession tumbled out her pouted mouth, choked with sobs. I killed her. I didn't get the tourniquet. Shame twisted her face. My voice was gentle, barely above a whisper. No, Latasha, it wasn't you. You did what you could. A beat of silence. If I ever work again, I'd be happy to have you. Her gaze locked onto mine, a flicker of hope piercing the despair. What do you mean work again? I looked at her, the weight of my guilt heavy in my chest. It was my fault, Latasha. I said softly, do they need a short order cook? McDonald's buzzed with customers, the ladies at the desk sending orders. My hands, one steady enough to stitch a wound, trembled as I fumbled with a burger patty, the greasy meat sticking to my gloves like a second skin. A customer's impatient sigh cut through the air, thick with the scent of frying potatoes and despair. I dropped the patty on the floor, picked it up, and threw it back onto the hot grill. It felt like a grotesque parody of a scalpel slicing through flesh. The manager screamed, "Get out!" Later, the alley reeked of stale beer and something far worse. The metallic tang of blood, a phantom scent clinging to the grimy brick walls. The bottle in my hand felt cold and heavy, a stark contrast to the burning sensation in my throat. Each gulp was a dull thud, a clumsy attempt to silence the screams that echoed in my mind. A ragged voice rasped, "Another one, Doc?" I didn't look up. Just another day at the office. The words tasted like grease. The flickering neon sign of a liquor store cast long, distorted shadows, mimicking the warped reflection staring back at me from a puddle of spilled whiskey. Dr. James Dowdy, the Doctor of Bums. The title feels like a branding iron, making its mark onto my soul. That, Billy, is who I am. Thank you for listening. Dr. Dowdy's story may feel heavy, but it reminds us of the weight we all carry and the choices that define us. Even in the shadows, there's a flicker of light, waiting for someone to reignite it. For Dr. Dowdy, that light came in the form of Billy, a man once lost but now thriving, who chose to share a spark and offer hope to the one who had once overlooked him. Stay tuned. Let's see what Billy does next. If you enjoyed my story, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. Your support means the world to me.